This is Comic Picks by the Glick.
Hey, I'm your host, Jason Glick.
Hey, Jason Glick, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm great, John, because we're at Foname.
Again. Whatever. Yeah. So.
Oh, yeah. It's like always great to be back at this convention. It's like, it may seem like we're like totally in the pocket for them, but that's just because, it allows us to get away from where we are and come and enjoy things in glorious San Jose.
Indeed. It's real nice out here, and as more fans begin to converge upon the convention center, we'll see more and more of that fandom come out. However, we're not here to talk specifically about the con, even though we're going to probably be going to the Dark Horse panel, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And,
can't miss Carl Horn.
Absolutely not. But you do actually have some reviews for us on the table this time. So what do you have?
Yeah, that's right. As it is Foname, that means this is like something we have to do something specifically manga related. And this time, well, it's like those of you with long memories may remember when I talked about did a podcast a while back about comics that have never been collected in trade paperback form. Well, turns out that Dark Horse Comics has a lot of manga that has not been collected in trade paperback form as well. That you can only pick up in single issue form. It's like whether you're industrious enough to seek it out. Now, regular readers may know that I have been very critical about Dark Horse's ability to regularly publish their titles, such as say Ghost Talker's Daydream, the Kurosaki Corpse Delivery Service, Eden, It's an Endless World. Dark Horse has really not been the best when it comes to putting out like finishing the titles that they start. It's like in this new modern era. But the thing is, not only was that still the case back in the day, that was actually the standard for both Dark Horse and Viz and all of the other manga publishers who did it back in the days when manga was published in single issue form. So when I'm talking about series that haven't been collected, I mean this is stuff that got 6 issues back in 1994 and was never heard from again. Until I went to a panel at AX back in 2015 or so, and it's and Carl Horn and Philip Simon talked about some of the series that they said, hey, you know what, we did these back in the 90s and we were never able to collect these. Well, so I figured okay, it's there's manga out there that's manga out there that I haven't read and hasn't been collected. It's I want to read this. I want to check it out. It's because hey, while I am a hardcore trade waiter when it comes to reading my comics, the one sure way to get me to buy a single issue comic is to make sure it is never reprinted in trade paperback form. Such is the case with these manga I'm going to talk about from Dark Horse Comics. Now, some of these I imagine were not ever reprinted because of rights reasons. That Dark Horse, for whatever reason, doesn't have the rights to bring these into trade paperback form for whatever reason, or just the fact that it's really that terrible that you never want to read them again. Such is the case with the title that I'm going to talk about, a title called Chrono War from creator Kazumasa Takayama. It starts off involving parts of Tokyo being evacuated due to a satellite that's supposed to crash land there. But there's also some drama being in the midst of it. There's there's a guy named Machida who apparently stabbed a business partner. Now he's being tracked down by the cops. And apparently there's also a housewife named named Chiaki. Was it Chiaki? God damn it. Why can't I remember her name? Yeah, Chiaki. Who's also has some sort of connection to Machida as well. While Machida encounters Chiaki as he's trying to make his escape, the satellite crash lands and time stands still. Because it turns out that the satellite was carrying an alien intelligence from a civilization that died several hundred light years ago, and is now trying to determine how is Earth a suitable place to help rebuild its civilization. Now there are some decent ideas in the sense that in the whole fact that most of these manga takes place in the world where time stands still. And Machida and Chaki and the detective have to work things out. On their own terms, and that's kind of cool. But the actual character dramatics are very formulaic. The detective winds up going insane because of the because he was the first guy that the alien intelligence tried to download all of his memories into, and Machida and Chaki were apparently were the beneficiaries of this test procedure. But now the detective has kind of gone crazy in the sense that, hey, now we can make this whole world new, or we're freedom from obligation, and and regulations and everything. And it's kind of he's just gone crazy. And even with the time stop stuff, there's also the fact that Machida is eventually revealed to have been in love with Chiaki since they went to high school together, and apparently he was also working on the when she went off to Tokyo to become a star, he was kind of always there watching her. It's working as a as a tech hand on her films, and it's kind of that's kind of creepy. And it's he never really evolves beyond kind of a stalker type persona. The series does get off to a good start in presenting Chucky as kind of someone who was able to use this alien tech to move around. The first image in the series is her saying hey, there are some things worth fighting for. You think, oh great, we're going to get a strong female protagonist right here. But no, she's kind of she's ultimately really be dependent on Machida saying, oh, I love you. It's because she can't summon the will up to take on the detective on her own terms later on in the series. The art is also kind of fairly amateurish for the most part. I mean, it's decent enough, but it's really not all that impressive for the most part. I mean, if you're living in the 90s and you were hungry to experience everything that manga had to offer, then yeah, I can see you getting into Chrono War. These days, it's a buried treasure that is best to stay buried. The 9 issues Dark Horse published appear to be the entirety of the series, which leads me to believe that they got this probably for either really cheap from the Japanese publisher, or they were basically said, hey, you need to take this in order to get this other title you want to publish. So there you go. Don't expect to see Chrono War reprinted in a in a nice one-volume edition, say the Two Faces of Tomorrow was. But there you go. Anyway, on a more positive note, and something that I'm just a little bit more surprised that Dark Horse didn't try to reprint back when the unflipped manga, but back when the manga boom was going. There is Hellhounds, Panzer Cops. Now, if you're wondering, hey, it's okay, that's kind of the incendiary title right there, in the sense that, hey, there's when you talk about say Panzer Cops, you think hey, panzers, the tanks that Germany used in World War II, and that's kind of quasi-Nazi imagery right there, huh? Well, you're not too far off right there. But the thing is that Hellhounds is actually set in the world of Mamoru Oshii's Jinro, the Wolf Brigade. This is a picture of a Japan who slowly descended into fascism after World War II, when they created a special Capitol Police that was developed first to take out organized crime, but eventually was used on the front lines to take out the guerrilla rebellion against the totalitarian government that rose up in its place. Now, the 6 issues of Hellhound's Panzer Cops are kind of a nice survey of the world Oshii created. It's like the first issue has has a nice inversion of the story of like how a lone wolf type character comes to work with the with the Panzer Cops, and it's like, well, these these stories go. It's like, he's the lone wolf. He doesn't play by anyone's rules, but it's like, but he's gonna save the day in the end. Nah, it's the nice. It's like, I liked seeing the first issue is probably the strongest of the series in the twist that it provides. It's like, and they kind of rebuttal to like how showing how a lone wolf working in a highly structured military unit can be very detrimental to the success of the unit itself. The subsequent stories involving terrorist attack on the Panzer Cops' new helicopter, some interdepartmental squabbling between the two, between the cops and the regular Japanese police, and a terrorist hostage attempt on done on a police on a on a plane that's leads to more interagency feuding. It's are fairly interesting. There is the sense that that Oshii, who wrote the series, is kind of advancing his own mindset more than about Japan more than anything else. And the art from Takumi Fujiwara, it's fairly competent. I mean, he's good with the mechanical designs and the Panzer Cops' iconic armor design as well. But the characters, kind of have this familiar 90s anime manga look to them. It's like, and that doesn't really serve the story all that well, compared to anyone who's seen Jinro, the Wolf Brigade, which, it's like, if you haven't, it's highly worth checking out. The 6 issues Dark Horse published represent the first of two volumes of the manga. The fact that it hasn't been reprinted likely means that Dark Horse has lost the rights to it. It's like, because I would imagine that it's like having someone of Oshii's name say, hey, from the creator of Ghost in the Shell, or not from the creator of Ghost in the Shell, from the guy who directed the original Ghost in the Shell anime. It's like that would be a solid selling point. That obviously is what got probably got the series greenlit in the first place, but would also likely be a nice selling point for a reprinted version as well. But it's like they didn't do it, so don't expect to see this series reprinted. Or brought up again anytime soon. Okay, same goes for this other series that I picked up, Rebel Sword, from Yoshikazu Yasuhiko. Now, he's probably not as famous as Oshii, mainly because, well, it's like the series that he worked on, isn't as quite iconic in American anime terms. But the thing is, he was the guy who did the character designs and animation direction for the original Mobile Suit Gundam. So the guy's kind of a living legend. And he's also responsible for the Mobile Suit Gundam, the Origin manga, which I loved from Vertical. Rebel Sword, it's not, well, I guess it could be worse. But the thing is, he's doing something that, we wouldn't have batted an eye at in the 90s, but, in these quote-unquote enlightened times of the late 20-teens, does come off as kind of sketchy. Because it involves a kid, Jiro Manabe, who is half Japanese, half Kurdish, and who he was sent to Japan to hopefully live out a normal life by his mother. Back when he was a kid, and his dad, who was researching stuff back in the day, but he's eventually called back to Turkey, and because apparently essentially by his mother, who is apparently now a opium addicted belly dancer, and it's and the idea is that it's like he's apparently like thought to be like the destined one who's going to like lead these Kurdish rebels, like again in the rebellion against the evil Turkish government. So, well, on one hand, it's somewhat admirable to see Yasuhiko try and address modern issues in this series. It's kind of done from a traditional Japanese hero standpoint, like from Kasim, the burly guy who seems like he's going to be like antagonist, but also turns out to be like the guy Jiro's like one of the few guys Jiro can trust here, to the hot-headed rebel in the Kurdish camp who sees Jiro as a threat to his position there. It's like he's ascribing Japanese like manga tropes to real world factions, and that's kind of awkward. If you can look past that stuff or just ignore it altogether, this series is is enjoyable in terms of being a decent action adventure type story. But it's like if you can't, then well, it's like it's probably not for you. Also, a probably buried entry is the fact that Yasuhiko's art is 80s, is so 80s, man. It's like on one hand, I find it like admirable, like to see how his style is so rooted in an era that I'm familiar with, that it's I want to applaud him, but others might just have some kind of issue with that. Now, I guess before I go on to the next big thing, John, it's like, is there anything that's like caught your ear about any of this?
I have no problems with 80s style artwork like that.
Okay.
However, I understand your point of view, so I understand.
Yeah, I don't either, but I mean, I'm just saying that there's some people out there who just like look at this and they're like, man,
that's dated. That style is so dated. Yeah, I get
exactly.
it. I totally get that. Although I will just yes, I'm going to reveal. I have a daughter, and she actually is now beginning to appreciate older manga and anime styles, and I'm like, because she's a fan of the medium itself. So,
this would be a good litmus test for her then.
Mm-hmm, yeah, she's a true millennial.
Yeah, but I'd say go and get her like the first volume of Gundam: The Origin, because that's probably much less. I don't know. It's like it's a much easier way to get into like 80s style than say Rebel Sword.
Yeah, probably so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but as far as like the big thing I want to talk about here is that it's like, for all, even like it's Admiral the Dark Horse, like you wanted to like publish a nice diversity of titles like back in the 90s. It's also telling the fact that it's like, even though they got let me back up a bit, because Dark Horse's best successes tend to come from out of nowhere. Whether it's like picking up the Star Wars license after Marvel had dropped it, taking a chance on creators like creators like Frank Miller and Mike Mignola run wild. Or giving like a singer like Gerard Way a chance to just like go with his stuff. I mean, it's like Dark Horse's best successes tend to come when they're doing something different that nobody saw coming. So when they published a manga from the creator of Akira, you would think, hey, that's a nice solid home run right there. This is the latest manga from the guy who published the manga and did the film that broke anime. It's like in the U.S. The guy that like basically made everyone stand up and take notice. So this should have been a solid home run for them. Katsuhiro Otomo's The Legend of Mother Sarah lasted for 3 miniseries from Dark Horse, but basically covering roughly half of the series total length. So it's so on one hand, it's like it's telling that hey, like the name doesn't mean everything for a series, and it's also, and I also have to wonder that, if Otomo's name wasn't attached to this, would they have only gotten past the first series? Which, okay, well, this is like a never collected podcast. It's worth mentioning that the first arc of Legend of Mother Sarah, Tunnel Town, was collected, and I believe I've talked about this on one of my Buried Treasures of Manga podcasts before. The two miniseries that followed, City of Children and City of the Angels, were not collected. So, I just want to reiterate that Tunnel Town is an entertaining little B story involving Sarah, a refugee from a space colony who was separated from her three children, Satoko, Harato, and Tsumuri. And when we were introduced to her on the Earth, she's trying to find out what happened to them. So it's you got a solid premise right there, and also it's clearly established that Sarah is kind of a badass in her own right, and so she's very, very capable of handling herself. And being a great strong female protagonist. The first arc, which is the only one that was collected, Tunnel Town, shows you what happens when she mixes it up with with the people, with the residents of a town who are bowing down to the Mother Earth faction, which is the environmentalist faction that has become radicalized into a military front, as opposed to the Epoch group, which is kind of like they're like the progressives, but they're basically all the tree huggers and the and the progressives have both been radicalized into military groups, and so they're just completely at odds with each other. It's this will be important later on, but for now it's they're just they're just kind of like bad guys for the first couple arcs. Tunnel Town overall isn't bad. City of the Children and City of the Angels aren't all that great for the most part, because City of the Children basically has Sarah and her oh god, that's right, I have to talk about Tsue. Tsue is her short black merchant companion who, if I'm being charitable, is kind of a colorful, constantly scheming type guy. If I'm being very critical, he's an awful racial caricature of Japan. Imagining just what the scheming black man is like. So it's oh god. And also, let me talk about the art for a second. Takumi Nagayasu illustrated the series. Otomo only wrote it. While Nagayasu is really good with mimicking Otomo's style for the most part, and he's got a great level sense of detail for a lot of the stuff that goes on here, Tsue is, oh god, it's he's a frightening racial caricature, especially in the way that Nagayasu apparently can't draw him without seeming cockeyed, and it's oh god, that's it's bad. I want to say that way back in the day when I actually did a manga column for IGN, no, it's true, honest, believe it. I wrote off Tsue as being Sarah's colorful, comrade in arms, and I regret that, because it was one of those. When I wrote that column, I was just kind of doing it, I'm by the seat of my pants, hours before deadline, and so while I don't, while most of it turned out all right, that's one thing I do regret. So Tsue, he's not a bad character, but as far as racial representation goes, he's a huge strike against Japan's overall level of racial understanding. Now, getting back to the series itself, City of the Children, like, goes back to some of the, like, Otomo's pet themes of, like, kids. It's like of kids, it's like having ideas of, like, how they want to run things, it's like, and psychic powers, and it's kind of like, it reads like his most transparent attempt to, like, work some stuff that worked in Akira, like, into this new series. Like, hey, you want like a leader with psychic powers? We got that. It's like, you want some, like, drug crazed psychos? Hey, we got that too. It doesn't quite work as well as you would hope. And same goes for the arc that follows, City of the Angels, where Sarah and Sue come to a town that is that is, like, in the middle of the war, that is right in the middle of the war, but is also being besieged from within by a group of pacifistic religious order, which also counts one of Sarah's kids as its member. So that's the main arc. Main drive of this arc as well, but at the same time, though, it's like it feels really stretched out for the let's say, how many is it? The 9 issues that it runs. So and also the end of the arc involves a very sentimental saccharine story moment where it's like where the girl's religious fervor is revealed to have saved everyone. It's like, and like, there's a giant rainbow. It's like in the end as well. It's like, oh God, Otomo, you should know better. God damn it. Well, I also want to mention that the final issue of Legend of Mother Sarah, published by Dark Horse, involved a little brief editorial saying that, hey, well, we'd like to continue the series. That's not going to happen because it's not selling well. I appreciated that in the sense that, it's like Dark Horse is directly telling its readers, hey, you know what, series isn't coming back, and this is the reason why. It's a lot more consideration than we get in the modern era, where it's like you actually have to track down one of their guys at convention and ask them, hey, is this series on hiatus? Which basically means canceled. It's like, and getting them to say yes, it's like, then there you go. So it's a lot more considerate. I'd like to see this level of consideration, like, from Dark Horse of the modern day compared to what we got right now. Now, that being said, like, hearing me talk about how, like, the uncollected issues of The Legend of Mother Sarah weren't all that great. Well, it's like, what happened to the back half of the series, the part that Dark Horse didn't publish? You might think that, hey, well, if this first half had issues, well, gee, that's why we want to read the second half. Here's the best part, everyone, and because it turns out that the series actually gets better, like, once it gets into the back half, when we meet up with one of Sarah's other kids, Harato, who was leading a rebel gang, like, throughout the, like, fighting against the ideologies of Epoch and Mother Earth. It's like, and also the idea that Epoch and Mother Earth are now fighting, trying to find some sort of peace accord as well. It's like this. So, and then you throw in the fact that, hey, turns out that not all the colonies that started the evacuation that Sarah did back when the series started. Turns out there were also still people up there, and now they're coming back down to Earth as well. The back half of the series, which, if you're wondering, like, Jason, well, how did you read this? Do you know Japanese? No, I don't. God damn it! This is all through the magic of scanlations, through the good people at Batoto.to. Well, okay, Batoto.to is just hosting these things. This is actually by some people who scanlated it back in 2013. And okay, the scanlation job is highly dubious. I mean, anyone with a rudimentary understanding of English will look at this and go, okay, yeah, you guys need some work on it, seriously. So, but at the same time, though, it's still an intelligible English translation, and like, I'm glad to have it as opposed to having no translation at all. It's also worth noting that these translations were apparently scanned from the French editions. So on one hand, I guess, so thanks, France. Like you did good right there. So I mean, really, it's like the back half of the series really benefits from the fact that there's a lot more going on, from the antics of Haruto's rebel group to the to the ideological peacetime clashes between Epoch and Mother Earth, which, well, like, their logger-headed approach to the peace talks will ring regrettably true to anyone who is currently living in our divided political climate. It's like, and also as is the fact that the real work in terms of negotiating peace between the two apparently is happening behind closed doors, as opposed to, it's like in the open area with everyone, where everyone can see what's going on. It's like, and the return of the colonies is also like a crazy twist that works pretty well, and it's like overall. It's like when I was kind of worried about just checking out see how the series would end after after finding out there were scanlations for it. But the more I read of the back half, the more invested I got into it, to the point where it's like, hey, you know what? It's like, I think I can put off playing video games for a while just to finish how this is going. The one big issue I have with it is that Sarah does become kind of a secondary player to this back half, that she's kind of more or less reacting to what's going on between what Haruto does and what the returning space colonists are up to. It's like, and also we never really find out just how she became such a real badass. I mean, there are some hints that she was some kind of military specialist before becoming a mother, but it's never fully explained just why she became so awesome at combat. So that's kind of disappointing, and also can't imagine some people will have issues with how she handles her regret at being a mother to her youngest child as well, which is kind of painful, and is covered through the City of Children arc as well. So okay, if as far as the best uncollected stuff from Dark Horse goes, strictly speaking, it's Hellhounds, Panzer Cops, because that's an interesting look at one of Mamoru Oshii's created worlds. It's like, and I'd love to see more of it. In fact, I'd love to see the second half of it, because while the first volumes of Dark Horse were actually rescanlated by another group who has a similarly shaky grasp of the English language as the people who did the translation of the back half of The Legend of Mother Sarah. There's still another volume out there that needs to be translated that hasn't happened yet. But still, it's like, if you're going to go pick up the The Legend of Mother Sarah, that's overall the best of the series that's has not been collected by Dark Horse. Granted, the stuff that Dark Horse actually published is probably the least of the series itself. But it's like, if you're going to but taking the series as a whole, it's still very entertaining. You gotta go and check out the scanlations as well. I have no problem recommending the scanlations because, well, we'll probably never ever see Legend of Mother Sarah collected in a multi-volume edition. I think that's because not just because of the series' failure commercially back in the 90s, but also it seems that Otomo only wants to let Akira be his legacy in the English language or in the Japanese language as well. I don't know if he's actually there's actually an edition of his of his short works published in Japan as well. I've heard word that he's not really big on letting his old stuff be published beyond Akira. So really, it's if you're going to read the scanlated volumes, then you're really not depriving him of any money, because he's not going to provide you with an English language edition anyway. But hey, if he does at some point, then you are obligated to buy it. There you go. All right, John, any thoughts on that crazy-ass back half of things?
No, not really from my point of view here. It's just interesting, the facts you were just mentioning about, it feels like Akira is it,
The thing is, I hear that with Otomo's early works were basically that Shimashima is like kind of like the it guy for manga back in the day, and then he did this unfinished series Fireball about man that was like a man versus computer type series, and then he did Akira, which is kind of like this huge big thing that hey. It was a thing that it genuinely changed things, and also, it's like following up something like that. That's got to be legitimately threatening for anyone. On one hand, it's like I'm glad we have that he did try to follow it up with Legend of Mother Sarah. No, it's not as good as Akira, but I still thought it was entertaining on its own terms. It's kind of disappointing that we haven't seen that he hasn't done a lot of manga since, mostly focusing on anime works like the Short Piece Collective and Steam Boy, or live action stuff like the Mushishi movie. I'd still love to see him do more. I'd love to read more stuff from him, but it's like after you've done Akira, trying to follow that up, that's a huge daunting task for anyone. And if he doesn't want to do it, then I kind of understand that.
Yeah, and if you're gonna catch any of those updates, if you listen to this podcast, you're gonna get it straight from the horse's mouth, as to say, because we'll keep you updated. Jason will keep you updated.
Indeed, I will.
All right, and with that, we'll catch you next time on Comic Picks by the Glick.
All right, laters.
Bye.